America, the land of the free and the home of the brave. A nation forged in the fires of revolution, built upon the ideals of liberty and justice for all. But how did this vast and diverse country come to be? In today's video, we'll take a journey through the rich and complex history of the United States of America, from its early beginnings to its rise as a global superpower. Our story begins long before the arrival of European settlers. For thousands of years, the land that is now the United States was inhabited by Native American tribes, each with its own unique culture, language, and way of life. These tribes, ranging from the Iroquois Confederacy in the northeast to the Navajo in the southwest, established complex societies, cultivated the land, and built intricate trading networks. They lived in harmony with the natural environment, developing spiritual and social systems that were deeply connected to the land they called home. But in the late 15th century, everything changed dramatically. In 1492, Christopher Columbus, an Italian explorer sailing under the Spanish flag, made landfall in the Caribbean. This momentous event marked the beginning of European exploration and colonization in the Americas, setting the stage for centuries of profound transformation and conflict. Over the next century, explorers from Spain, France, England, and other European nations eagerly arrived in the New World, driven by a desire for wealth, land, and religious freedom. They established various colonies along the eastern seaboard, with the English founding Jamestown in Virginia in 1607, the first permanent English settlement in what would eventually become the United States. These early settlements laid the groundwork for a new society, setting the stage for the complex and diverse nation that would emerge in the centuries to come. Life in the early colonies was fraught with challenges. The settlers faced harsh winters, food shortages, and frequent conflicts with Native American tribes. Despite these hardships, they persevered and gradually began to thrive. This resilience was bolstered by the introduction of cash crops like tobacco, which quickly became a major export, fueling the colony's economic growth and stability. By the mid-18th century, the 13 British colonies stretched from Georgia in the south to Massachusetts in the north. But as the colonies grew, so did tensions with the British Crown. The colonists resented the heavy taxes and restrictions imposed by King George III and his government, leading to growing unrest and calls for independence. The tipping point came in 1773, when the colonists protested the Tea Act by dumping an entire shipment of British tea into Boston Harbor, an event known as the Boston Tea Party. This act of defiance set the stage for the American Revolution, a war for independence that would change the course of history. In 1775, the first shots of the Revolutionary War were fired at Lexington and Concord. The conflict quickly escalated, and on July 4, 1776, the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence, penned by Thomas Jefferson. This document boldly proclaimed the colony's right to self-governance and declared that all men are created equal, with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. After years of bloody conflict, the American colonies emerged victorious, thanks in part to the leadership of General George Washington and the crucial support of France. The Treaty of Paris was signed in 1783, officially recognizing the United States as an independent nation. With independence secured, the young nation faced the challenge of creating a government that would uphold the principles of liberty and democracy. The Articles of Confederation, the country's first constitution, proved too weak to govern effectively, leading to the drafting of a new constitution in 1787. This document established a federal system of government with checks and balances, ensuring that no single branch would have too much power. The Constitution, along with the Bill of Rights, which guaranteed individual freedoms, became the foundation of American democracy. But as the nation expanded westward, it grappled with deep divisions over issues like slavery, which would eventually lead to the Civil War. The Civil War, fought from 1861 to 1865, was a defining moment in American history. It pitted the northern states, known as the Union, against the southern states, which had seceded to form the Confederacy. The war was brutal and bloody, claiming the lives of over 600,000 Americans. But it also brought about the end of slavery, with President Abraham Lincoln issuing the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. The Union's victory in 1865 preserved the nation and led to the abolition of slavery, but the country faced a long and difficult period of reconstruction as it sought to heal the wounds of war and integrate millions of newly freed African Americans into society. Despite the promise of equality, the reality for many African Americans was far different. The Reconstruction era gave way to the Jim Crow era, a period marked by racial segregation and disenfranchisement in the South. It would take nearly a century of struggle and the tireless efforts of civil rights activists to bring about significant change. The civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s was a pivotal chapter in American history. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X challenged the status quo and fought for equal rights for all Americans, regardless of race. Their efforts culminated in landmark legislation, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which outlawed racial discrimination and protected voting rights. As the 20th century progressed, the United States emerged as a global superpower, playing a leading role in both World War I and World War II. The post-war era saw unprecedented economic growth, technological advancements, and the expansion of civil liberties. However, it was also a time of tension, marked by the Cold War with the Soviet Union and conflicts in Korea and Vietnam. The space race between the US and the Soviet Union culminated in 1969, when American astronaut Neil Armstrong became the first human to set foot on the moon, declaring, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." This achievement solidified America's place as a leader in science and technology. The end of the Cold War in the early 1990s marked the beginning of a new era. The United States, now the world's sole superpower, faced new challenges and opportunities in a rapidly changing global landscape. The rise of the internet revolutionized communication and commerce, while events like the 9/11 attacks in 2001 reshaped the country's foreign policy and led to the War on Terror. The 21st century has brought both triumphs and trials for the United States. The election of Barack Obama in 2008 as the first African American president was a historic moment, symbolizing progress in the ongoing struggle for racial equality. Meanwhile, the country has grappled with economic recessions, political polarization, and the challenges of a global pandemic. Today, America stands at a crossroads. As the nation continues to evolve, its people are more diverse and interconnected than ever before. The challenges we face, whether in politics, economics, or social justice, are complex and multifaceted, but the spirit of resilience and the pursuit of a more perfect union continue to drive the American story forward. The history of America is a tale of courage, innovation, and determination. It is a story of a nation that has faced adversity head-on and emerged stronger, a country that continues to strive for the ideals of freedom, equality, and justice for all. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of America. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content on history and beyond. Until next time, keep exploring and keep learning.